Hey everybody, and welcome back for another episode of The Overlay, a poker podcast brought to you by Chicago Charitable Games, CCG Poker in beautiful Chicago, Illinois. Actually, we only do one event in Chicago, so in beautiful Northeast Illinois. Nobody says that. Let's try it again. In beautiful Chicagoland area. Also brought to you by Paramount Social Club in Houston, Texas.
I like that. See, that intro is just miles better than all the other ones.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get
you
lots
had to get
of
it right
comments.
with the Chicagoland area. Try it 3 times, but nobody really says Northeast Illinois.
No, nobody says Northeast Illinois unless you're talking about Northwest Indiana, in which case that would be Northeast
Everybody
Illinois.
talks about Northwest Indiana, but Northeast Illinois, that's not a thing.
Hey, Brandon.
It's called Chicagoland area.
Chicagoland, and it's still part of Chicagoland. What's going on? How are things going?
Pretty good.
Anything new since the last time I talked to you?
Nothing new.
No? It's good.
Nothing new to report.
Did you get any action at the WSOP in Elgin? Did you play anything?
I did not.
I'm 0 for 2 in Elgin, and it's so nice that they've got 2 events, and I know it's been pretty. They've been pretty busy, right? Like
they've been good. Yeah.
Did the Horseshoe, the Hammond WSOP, which is like the OG Chicagoland WSOP circuit.
Yes.
That's a bigger, like, they get more players there, correct?
They do, yeah. The main event's 250,000 more in the guarantee, and they have one less starting flight. It's just bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
I've that whole
Elgin
venue
twice.
really. Yeah, I went last time for Elgin. It left a bitter taste in my mouth, losing 1,200 in PLO tournaments in an hour, and I was on track to go do the same thing last Monday, and then I turned around and got a coffee and went back home.
God bless you. That's the best poker story I've heard in a long time.
You know what? I decided I'm going to save this 1,200. I looked at the structure. I looked at what time it was. I looked at the traffic.
Yeah, everything's just a little bit too small in my opinion. I think the buy-ins need to be a little bit higher. I don't really want to play a PLO tournament that's under like 600. I feel like 600 is kind of like my nut low. Don't get me wrong, I don't really want to play a 5K tournament. I like it between 600 and 1,000. I mean, 1,100 is kind of like the perfect number because 1,100 is going to make me play a little bit better and smarter. I won't be as loosey-goosey. I feel like 400, I'm like, well, shit, I can rip 3 bullets in this thing and be the same number I was at an 1,100, which is maybe why they chose the $400 price point.
Yeah, but if everybody's playing like that, it kind of sucks. Like, I'd rather it be more authentic and everybody should be, quote unquote, almost on their last bullet when they walk in the door, as opposed to like Jordan, who's on bullet 7 by the time me and you walk in.
Yeah, like end level 3. Yep. I agree. So I guess it's good and bad. You get, it also, and I know this has nothing to do with what the episode's going to be about today, but I also feel like it's bad for the game in the sense that like players that are getting new into PLO tournaments, which are not super popular in general, like it's the, least popular tournament is Pot Limit Omaha, right? Because most Pot Limit Omaha players want to play cash games. They don't want to play tournaments. So it's like you already had a small subsection of poker players. And then to have those guys playing a $400 tournament and just ripping all these bullets, just like, screw this. If I'm a new player, like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go back to Hold'em, which is mildly normal compared to this nonsense, which is just a bunch of Eastern European guys talking about Lord knows what and just ripping in. Yeah, and just ripping in 7, 8, 4 deuce. I'm just like, what? That was a waste of $400. So it's bad. What are we going to talk about this week, Brando?
Promotions, baby.
Baby. Yeah, I like a good promo.
Me too.
What are your favorite promos? Or do you want to talk about like the different types of promotions and kind of how they fall into things?
Let's start with the different types.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you got like, I think there's like 2 different formats, right? It's like a bunch of little prizes that spreads the money around, more frequently to more players, but much smaller amounts.
Right.
Or like this idea of like, this one big prize that is borderline life-changing, but only one person in the entire poker room is kind of going to win. And it's like, from a poker room manager side, it's like, you love the appeal of changing somebody's life with $100,000 or $200,000 bad beat where the winner gets 40% and they're going to take home $80,000 if they, lose the pot and win the bad beat. But then that's going to maybe only happen once every 6 months. So maybe the recreational guy doesn't really give a shit about it. And, maybe an out of towner is going to win it anyways. Then all that money's just never going to come back in the room. And,
Right.
Versus maybe we'll do a $100 high hand every hour, or a $200 high hand, depending on the room. If it's Vegas, it's $500 during the summer. If it's CCG, it's $200 twice a night,
right.
as opposed to every hour. But, and obviously the more promo dollars you take in, the more you can give away or do with it. But that, you have a winner every couple hours. It's like a guy that shows up and is only here for 4 hours. Like, oh, cool! I got a chance to win an extra 200 or 500 or whatever. And it's not such a big blow to the room when that guy wins and then leaves with his $200 and never comes back because, okay, cool, it's 200. Who really cares? And so, I think balancing or figuring out what's best for the room is because we've gone both ways. We've done a Queen of Hearts.
Whoa! Speak for yourself.
We've done a Queen of Hearts thing where you got soaked for 5,000 on the first pull.
Second
pull. We've we've done bad beats that don't get very high, but are exciting and hit. But that's like a once a month type of thing,
right?
And then we have our current promotion going on where it's kind of 6 months long. And it's like a process. You got to win here. It gets you to this one. You got to win this one to get to that one. And then ultimately, the whole final table is getting paid on this thing, $500. But I mean, the two prizes that we're awarding and blasting out and promoting is really only going to be for two people.
So as a player, this is the problem with promotions. It's why it's so hard.
Catch-22.
It's a catch-22. You got tournament players and you got cash game players, and really you can't share between the two because the promo money comes from a promo dollar taken out of every pot played in a cash game. So every casino you go to that's playing a promotion, typically they're taking $1 out of the pot for every single hand, and then they're taking that money and then giving it away in either certain things. Now, it's kind of, again, it's a difficultness, right? Like the old days at the Horseshoe in Hammond, they would take $1 rips and pause the bad beat, and then they would give away main event seats into the World Series coming up, like the circuit event, right?
Right.
And it would be like, what was it, like twice a night they gave away one or something?
Yeah, it was like three, like one, 6, and 1 or something like that, like three times a night.
It was cool because it promoted the regulars. The casino likes it because it gets more games going, so that's good. More players are playing, so that promo dollar goes up. So they're kind of making a little bit of money off of this marketing, or that's the idea, and they're kind of giving you something that's really going towards something that they're benefiting from anyways, like a big tournament that comes into it. So that's something that happens a lot with cash game players. But then you're taking cash game players and turning them into tournament players. So it's like, hey, buy this motorcycle and you can win a free boat. It's like, well, wait, I drive motorcycles. Why would I want to buy a boat, or vice versa? All these boat guys buy a new boat, get put in a motorcycle drawing. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me on the flip-flop back and forth. And tournament guys never really pay anything into the promotion. They just reap any of the benefits. So typically it's a cash game-centric promotion for the most part, correct?
So yes.
When you
and
try to cross,
the problem is you got the old guy that's been grinding at the Horseshoe for 15 years, paying $1 every single time he loses, and now he's like, "Well, sweet. Now all I get is, or I get a tournament seat. I don't even want to play. Like, this is how I reap the benefits on. Like, I don't want that." At the same time, though, you have somebody who would never play a 1-2 cash game at the shoe.
Correct.
Now that they're there to play the noon tournament. Well, now they bust the noon tournament at 12:30. Now it's like, all right, I'm going to go play and try and win this seed. So the room, the room gets all the benefits. I mean, the room gets to take
the old guy
the players' money and give away seats into their own tournament, and then they're going to get extra games because of it. But on the other hand, you have old man Johnny who's upset.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Old man Johnny, think about it this way. You're getting all of these nits and kids that wouldn't play 1-2 or 2-5 at the Horseshoe because they're trying to grind out some hours to win this tournament seat because they really ultimately want to play the tournament seat. So your cash game's getting an influx of cash, players who don't really play cash games, because there's a big difference between cash games and tournament players, 100%. We all know it.
Of course.
I mean, it's a different type of game. There's different things that you do in both. Right or wrong, we can argue about which players are better, but they're different. Now you're getting these tournament-centric players coming into your game. So the benefit for Old Man Johnny is not the end goal of winning a seat to a tournament that he really doesn't want to play in. The benefit for him that he should be selling, this is why I'm such a good poker marketer, you're not playing for the seat. You're playing to have all these little nits and kids coming in that normally wouldn't be playing in your game. Now they're playing in your cash game. You're going to try to get their money by them trying to get this tournament seat. You don't care about the tournament seat. What I care about is that it's bringing new players to my game that now I can play with, and those are the guys that come in, and Old Man Johnny plays from 9 to 6 every weekday, which is the weakest amount of time, the weak points of the of tournament, or that's the weak time for cash game players, because it's always the veterans, the grinders, the kind of players that are playing to kind of grind out, 2 big blinds an hour. They're not the wild players that you and I experience in Omaha at 3 o'clock in the morning. That shit don't happen at 10:30 in the morning at the Horseshoe, correct?
Correct.
But it does happen if you get a couple of kids that are coming in early and be like, I'm going to go steal these old guys' money and try to get – like, you got to take the good with the bad, and that's where I feel like Old Man Johnny has no right to bitch, because you've been reaping the benefits for 4 months of these kids trying to come in, and you should be able to beat them, and long run, you're going to win money from them and exploit that. And then if you end up winning, be like, well, that's even a super bonus. Now I get to play a tournament that I don't really want to play. Great. That's the whole point. So maybe it's not as bad. So you kind of have to find the good in things, and that's just my half glass full kind of idea for it. So that's the idea.
But tournaments, bigger tournament seats, I think that's kind of actually the middle ground of the two things.
Correct.
You're not giving away a baby $100 for a high hand. You're not giving away 80,000. You are giving away 1,600. It's attractive. The casinos obviously reaping the benefits because they're doing it at the slow times, at the times when it's all these grinders.
Yep.
The drawing isn't noon on every Wednesday. It's like, okay, cool. Well, now these tournament kids who were going to show up for the 7 p.m. tournament are now coming at noon on a Tuesday to try and win that $1,600 seat.
You also have to remember that too, right? You just said it. It's like, well, why are they doing it on Monday at 10 o'clock drawing? Why wouldn't they do it it's Saturday night at 10? Well, because they don't need players Saturday night at 10 o'clock at night. That's the busiest time at a casino. The least busy time is 10 o'clock on a Monday.
Right. They probably, all their tables are full at Saturday at 7
They don't care.
So it's not going to do them any good.
You got to play all through the weekend. Make it till Monday morning. I've done that before. It's great.
So it's crazy. So as like a player, I'm all for team like life-changing money. As a player, as a person who rolls into the casino, I want a chance to win $100,000 a day playing 1-2 holes.
And that definitely happens.
To me, that is exciting.
When you're talking about bad beat jackpots.
I'm talking about bad beat jackpots.
So bad beat jackpots is the idea of like quads or better get beat in a hand. You hit the bad beat jackpot, and the bad beat jackpot all of that promo money, instead of going to high hands or little winners, kind of siphoning off little chunks every single day, a couple times a day, which add up. You put all of those into one big basket, and you're trying to bink a bad beat. And the bad beat is where typically you get 50% goes to the person who took the bad beat. 25% of the bad beat prize pool typically goes to the player who put the bad beat on, which I never understood. We'll get to that in a second.
The winner of the hand's got to get you.
And then 25% gets chopped up at the table. Now, sometimes they have a room thing where it's like 20% goes to the table and 5% is like a room drawing. So everybody in the room wins like, a couple $100 or $100 or whatever. There are some variations on it, but the biggest bad beat idea is that if you take this horrendous beat, you hit the bad beat jackpot, and it's a couple $100,000, which means if you're getting 50% of a $200,000 bad beat, bing bang boom, you just lost a hand, got stacked off.
For $300.
You got off stacked. You were stacking off.
You got
caught stacking off.
I've been caught stacking off.
Mom, I'm cleaning my room.
My pants slipped. I got the virus. If anybody knows what
if you know what meme, if you know what, it's so bad. And then my pants fell down, and I was trying to walk over. It's so good. Anyways, forget we said anything about that.
So you turn your $300 loser
into a
$100,000
$100,000 winner, which again, $100,000. I don't care if you're a millionaire. You win $100,000 in a 1-2 or 2-5 game. That's crazy money. That's crazy money. Like life changing in the sense of it's like you're never going to get those types of odds again in that type of realm, and it's great. And the nice thing is when like, you know, the plus side for the bad beat, and you just talked about it, when the bad beat gets super big, I remember one time in Detroit, it got up to like 750 or like 800,000, right?
Yeah.
People
it was
were
like 500K MGM.
People were like driving from all over the country
From
to
Chicago.
go play in that room because they're like, I want to be around if this hits. And the nice thing, again, you just got to be at the right table, and anything can happen, right? I mean, that's what you want. Even the table share at that point would have been like a crazy number. 5% of $1 million is what?
Oh, 50K. No, 5K. 50K.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing at an 800 table, I mean, you're still talking about 30, 40 grand just being at the table share on a bad beat that big. I mean, it gets so big that it just goes exponentially, and then it's like the Queen of Hearts kind of deal where, you know, the first beginning of the Queen of Hearts raffle, if you've never played in one, you know, there's always money left over, and if you don't pick the Queen of Hearts out of the deck of 52, I think there's like 54 or 55 because they put some jokers and stuff in there, then that money carries over to next week, and then more people come and like, oh well, the prize pool's not $2,000 now, it's $3,500, and then the next week it's like $7,000, and then week 3 it's like $14,000, and then week 4 it's like $20,000, and then it's like, well, whoa, for a $1 raffle ticket I could win, you know, $25K if I pulled the Queen of Hearts, and there's 5 less cards in there. Well, then the next thing you know, those Queen of Hearts, when they get down to the end, if nobody's picked the Queen of Hearts and there's like 4 left,
if there's like under 6 left, it gets
it goes
driving
bananas because you got a 1 in 6 chance to win this massive jackpot. Nobody cares about anything else except this massive jackpot, and that's what ends up happening. And that's the dream for the casino, is for the bad beat to get that big, because then there's so much buzz about their room. The room just gets exponentially busier. They're making more money. The players are making more money. Or everybody's happy because it's just action. It's so weird. The goal of a casino, you know, marketing company is to just create action, and it's hard to create action, you know, because even if you're like, oh, $100,000 free roll, and people are like, free roll. Well,
what do I got to do? I got to get in there.
I don't want to waste my time in that. And what am I going to get, like $2,000? It's like you're giving away $1,000, and players are like, that's not that exciting. But give them a chance to play their regular game, enjoy themselves in their regular cash game, their 2-5s, their 1-2s, their peel, whatever. You know, playing in those games. I want to play in that anyways. And then on top of it, I got a chance to maybe bink this massive jackpot. It's amazing. That's the dream. Problem is when jackpots get hit early on, and then there's no buzz about it, and some poor sap wins 20 grand on a bad beat jackpot on the bad beat side, you're like, well, start over. I guess we do it again next month, you know?
Yeah.
Start it over.
Remember Elgin?
Yeah,
dude,
they got up to like,
was only aces full of kings, and it was like over 350.
Yeah.
I think it was like 378.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember me and Allison were flying somewhere, and we were like decided to go the night before and go up to Elgin and play 1-2, pulled them.
I remember
because of that bad beat. Like we changed our like literally itinerary around on our travel to like oh, you know, let's spend the night up there in Elgin and try and hit the bad beat up there, because like it was that juicy and that big and that, I mean, hitting,
and that was at 300,000. Imagine like the one in Detroit a couple years ago got up to like 700, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that was nuts. So then, besides the bad beat, which I think is kind of the ultimate cash game player, I've never been at a table. I've never seen a bad beat hit. I've never been in the room when the bad beat hit. Never.
Well, I've hit the PLO bad beat 3 times.
Where?
At the shoe.
They have a PLO bad beat?
They do, yeah.
It gets hit a lot, though, right?
It gets hit, yeah. It goes up 2K a week. You got to have quad 10s, got to get beat. It usually gets up. Like I hit a table share when it was like 18K.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that was like literally pennies, like $900 or whatever. And then I've had the winning hand and the losing hand. The losing hand was nice. I got 8,200, which isn't life changing money, but it's still nice.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
free
it was
money.
like a 36K bad beat or something like that. Whatever. My share was 8,200 for 40%. So if anybody wants to do the math.
Oh, and that was for you took the bad beat or you?
Yeah. I had quad tens and the guy had a straight flush.
Oh, wow. So that was the top end of it. Again, you don't want to poo-poo 8,000. That's a free $8,000. However, it's like I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, meh.
I
Nice.
just treat it as like a rebate for all the times I put $1 in there.
Correct. Correct.
It's not like, because there's PLO players that have put in $9,000 into that bad beat and never gotten $1 out.
Correct.
Whereas like it doesn't really matter how much you've put into the bad beat when you hit one of those big hold'em ones, like your plus EV, like you're coming out on top, even if you've been grinding 1-2 for 40 years and you never hit anything. Well, you're still up now if you hit one of the big ones.
For sure.
Which is attractive to me.
So besides the bad beat promo, you also have the idea of, and that's really like the pinnacle of cash game players promo, right? I would say as a cash game player, the bad beat jackpot's probably the best case scenario for cash game players. Keeps the money with the cash game players.
Bad beat.
Yep, swelling it up and then eventually getting to it because it just creates so much action. And again, you get that idea of more players coming in, more players from out of town, more players bringing money in. It creates this action and the games get juicy, even if you don't hit the bad beats, as the games in general are good because people are trying to get to that bad beat money.
And the buzz is there.
Buzz. Again, it's just your poker room gets so much busier. Now you flip to the other side, tournament players. I think tournament player-wise, the best idea is like a tournament points list where players are playing in weekly tournaments, trying to grind out, finish in the top 5, top 10, whatever the case may be, to get points to end up in some kind of free roll because tournament players don't want a bad beat. It's always weird to me when I see a bad beat in like a tournament aspect, and I'm just like, that's weird as shit. Like it's just I don't understand that promotion.
Because the Horseshoe did that pre-COVID, 2017, 2018,
and it went over like a wet fart.
It did.
Yeah, nobody liked it. I don't think the tournament players cared about it, and the cash game players were pissed about it.
Of course,
because they're giving away their money into the tournaments that they have no way of winning, which doesn't. It's borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. Never going to make Peter happy.
Right.
If there's anything in the world, you want to make your Peter happy.
Right. Yeah. God, now I lost what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So poker rooms in America, I mean, they're so cash game driven. You really don't see tournament promotions in the everyday life. It's more so the tournament reaps the benefits when a series comes along.
Correct.
When the Horseshoe does a warm up, or when they create their own series, or they have a big WSOP style. Well, now all of a sudden there's seats added. There's all of a sudden the tournament guys get their promo during the big time events. During that kind of stuff. Where the rest of the year,
go ahead.
They kind of get swept under the rug. Where there ain't really much tournament promos for a guy that's grinding the 200s or whatever at the shoe weeklies or dailies or stuff.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Boy, it would be great if there was some kind of area where you could play in those weekly tournaments for a lower buy-ins and then have go ahead, parlay it.
That's what I was getting to.
Oh, good.
That's why at CCG, you do get rewarded for playing every $20 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, that's why I like our promo. I mean, of course I like it. I made it, but it's like you include all those guys. Everybody's included. You play only 20s, you got a chance to get in.
Right.
You play 2-5 every day, you got a chance to get in.
Right.
You play only the hundreds because you're a working individual who shows up at 6:00 every Friday to play to 6:30. You still got a shot.
Right.
The guys that show up at every single event and stink at poker and never cash, but they play every single tournament and they show up at Batavia and all the spots where the crowds aren't that much. You even got a shot.
Right.
Because you're showing up to the places with double points. So it's fully inclusive of every tournament guy has their own pathway to get to the desired 70 points needed, whether that's play the $360 buy-in in the city and win that, and then win the other 300 that's going to do it. Whether it's the guy that plays every single early bird and gets fifth, fourth, third, wins a couple birds, grinding it 4 points at a time, he's got a shot. And yeah, I mean, that's what the benefits of playing at CCG or Paramount is. There's going to be tailored stuff.
Yeah,
for the small guy too.
Paramount has something called the Paramount Cup Series. Same deal, where you get points for finishing in the top 5. Actually, they do top 10. So if you final table, you get like 1 point for 10th place and up to 10 points for first place. And there are points like if it's over $100 buy-in, you get double points. Same deal.
Yep.
So again, it's the
tailored.
idea. Are you grinding out those early bird tournaments at either location? In Texas or in Chicago, you playing those? I mean, and the nice thing in Chicago at CCG, I mean, first place and now second place, which is new for this year, both of them are going to get a main event package. I mean, for the let's be honest, Joe won last year, right? What's Joe's normal game of choice?
Joel.
That's what I said.
I mean, he plays the bird.
He's a $20 early bird player. Grinded his way out, made it into the tournament, a monthly tournament, finished in the top 5, gets into the free roll, gets through the free roll, wins the whole thing last year. Last year you had to win the whole thing to get the 12 or the 11-5 package for the main event. Flies out to Vegas, hangs out with me and Brandon, which again should be just worth the $10,000 buy-in anyways.
We shouldn't even pay
shouldn't even get into the tournament. You just get to hang out.
Next year it's just a hangout.
You just hang out with Ken and Brandon, and the swag parties are amazing. But here's a guy who plays the early bird on a regular basis, and not like one of these bird players that fires like 5 bullets and goes nuts and like the guy plays a legitimate, serious 1 or 2 buy-ins. Brings $50. If he loses, he goes home. Maybe plays a second chance if he's feeling good.
If he brings $100, he's going to play the second chance.
Maybe he cashed a couple times last week, got a little extra into poker bankroll. But like, this is not like a tournament grinder who's playing all of these tournaments all of the time. Like, just a regular casual player ends up getting to play in the main event. Like, that's like the poker player's dream. It was such a great story last year with Joel. We should probably still have him on just to talk about his experience. And he was super nervous. I was nervous for him.
Me too. I was a little bit like, man, come on.
I was like, man, he's like, I feel bad. I'm going to lose your money. I was like, it's not my money. It's yours.
It's your money.
I want you to enjoy yourself and have fun. Go out there and punch Phil Hellmuth in the face, metaphorically, not actually. Or if you do, make sure you wear a CCG shirt and punch him in the face and get on Poker News or the news. But go have fun. Like, this is not. Don't think of this as $10,000. This is a free roll tournament. The whole idea of a free roll is it is a free roll. There is nothing you can lose from this. It's all fun, and it was a great promotion, and it's worked the last 2 years, and we're 100% going to do it next year. It's been awesome. I would love to be able to implement it in Texas as well. We'll see how that can go. But it's just a super fun thing for a player that's never, Joel in his life never would have played the main event if he didn't grind his way and win his way from the freaking farm leagues of CCG charity poker, right? And make it all the way to the upper echelon of poker. I think it's awesome. It's a dream maker.
And I also think that from the cash game sides, those are the guys that pay the promo dollar for the most part, or a majority of it, or whatever percent of it that's bigger than the tournament side of things. I think it's attractive enough for them just because of the straight, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like clout, but just like the prestige of the tournament. Yeah. They're like, oh, even a guy that's like, I never really thought about playing the main event, or I never even really it didn't he's known it's existed for the last 40 years and he's been in the poker community, but it's just never interested him just because it's the idea of flying out to Vegas and ponying up $10,000 and saying I want to play in a 9-day tournament. A lot of cash game guys aren't in for it when you phrase it like that, but when you put it like, hey man, you're already a CCG grinder, you're going to get in this free roll and all you got to do is beat 48 other people and you're in the main event. All of a sudden, that doesn't seem like that much effort.
Oh wait, this year you only got to beat It's only one. It's 1 in 25.
Yeah,
because 2 spots.
Shot. And you're gonna play the cash. You know what I mean? For somebody that's a regular, that's all you gotta do is keep track of your hours. You're gonna get in almost anyways. And then so you even get those guys excited.
So it is kind of the good and the bad. The cash game guys are definitely paying more because the promos dollars are bigger from there than it is from the tournament side. It's just inevitably that's the way it is. It's probably 60-40, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit worse, 65-35.
Yep, probably 65-35.
It's cash game heavy. However, cash game qualification far, far easier to accomplish than the tournament side. Tournament side, way harder. You got to finish in the top 5 of any tournament you play in. And you got to do that a couple of times. Like it's not only
like 5 times, 6 times.
Right. Like you can't just go out, bank a double deep stack and be like, "Oh, I'm in." That's not possible. Like the guy who called from Over Under who played the 360 there, and he's like in second place right now. And I texted him, I'm like, "Don't sit on this. Like you've got a huge jump, but you're going to have to cash 1 or 2 more times to finish 5th. You're not going to be able to ride this, 30 points from now until the end of the month. It will not happen. You will finish 7th or 8th place, and you're going to be like, oh, man, I totally blew that. And you did, and you really need to work your way through it. So,
you also just can't be, I mean, for lack of a better word, you really can't be that much of a fish and do it on the tournament side because you got to get top 5 multiple times. Sure, you could be a losing poker player because you only need to cash. You could play 40 tournaments in a month and you need to, win 3 of them, but you can still be a net loser, sure.
Right.
But like a cash game player, you just have to sit your ass in the chair. You know what I mean? You could be the worst player in the entire room.
Right.
You can be negative $40,000 playing 1-2 cash over the course of the month. But if you were the top 5 in hours, you're in there. A tournament guy that is just punting off, he has no shot. So it's a lot easier from the cash game side.
Pretty bad.
The cash game side, you really just need to commit to it and show up and not run out of money before the end of the month.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, back to the bad beat.
Bad beat. You want to tell a bad beat story? We're going to end the poker episode with a bad beat.
You can tell it.
Okay, Texas Poker Room. I will not give the name of the room. It is an article on Poker News. Texas Poker Room refuses to pay out $100,000 bad beat jackpot over technicality. So this was a quad 3s versus a straight flush. Gets down to the river. There's a bet. The straight flush raises, and before the original bettor can call, he exposes his hand and that he has a straight flush for the nut hand. Best hand you can have. Nuts. And then eventually the quad 3s, I guess, tables his hand, but doesn't call, doesn't do anything. And then obviously it's the bad beat, right? Like quad 3s get beats by straight flush. Like that's it. And the qualification for this bad beat is just aces full of kings. That's a really pretty low, bad beat qualification hand. But yeah, the room did not pay out. And at first, Brandon, you had the same inclination I did. I was pissed. I was like, well, what a scummy move for this room to not do this and not pay out this bad beat. Like, clearly it's a bad beat. And it is. It's clearly a bad beat. Like, in no way, shape, or form is quad 3s ever folding in that position. Correct?
Correct.
Never. Never are they folding. If you've got a straight flush, you win, sir. I don't care how much money I have in front of me. I at least I'm going to call. However, the straight flush hand just shows prior to the quad 3s calling, and then that's when kind of the problems happen.
So I wonder if, I don't know. I was trying to come up with a way in my head where the quad 3s could have lost the hand, but it not have been a bad beat. If that makes sense. If quad 3s was worried about a 1-card straight flush, that they wouldn't get the bad beat. So if that was coming up,
Trying to see what the board is here. Hold on, I'm looking at the board. Hang on.
And then because then the straight flusher would be no, look, I have the bad beat hand here. If you have quad 3s, we're gonna hit the bad beat. So I'm showing you right now, Okay, now I have confirmed that
All
I'm
right,
not
so
going
the
to lose all
board
my money.
is 2 threes,
Okay.
10 of diamonds, queen of diamonds, jack of diamonds. So either way, he flops bottom set. Obviously, with threes, you really can't flop anything better than bottom set, anyways.
Okay, so any straight flush that the guy has is going to use 2 cards, and they're going to qualify.
Correct. Yep. So it's
Okay,
not like
so
there's
then
4 to a straight flush out there where you wouldn't think the bad beat qualified. But even again, still, like, I guess at
But
that
I
point.
think
But that
it does.
argument's null because that's not true. There's queen of diamonds, jack of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, and 2 threes out there.
Okay, so there's no situation where, because that would be one where I would be like on the casino side, like, hey, you know, like you guys are like, you know, manipulating, you know, we're talking about our hands here. But the hand was actually legit. Any straight flush is going to be 2 cards, and then any quads is going to get beat by that straight flush, and the bad beat is qualified.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm back on the team players.
It's weird. So I'm actually watching the video from the security to try to see kind of what happens. So the river's out, the quad threes bets, the straight flush goes all in, and then shows. And now he's literally got $10 left behind him.
Oh yeah, I'm on the team players then. That's
it's
BS.
A pretty small pot. Yeah, I mean, is it wrong? Yeah, 100%.
I mean, here's the thing: they always tell us at the shoe, you know, like get your cell phones off the table. You know, like everything is if the bad beat, you know, like you don't want to nullify the bad beat. So like,
correct.
The players are consciously aware of it, but at the same time, like I think that the players actually need to do something malicious for it to get disqualified. And for me, they didn't do anything bad here. Like to me, this is just saying like, the cards are all dealt out. This shit's happening, and then the casino's saying, "Well, let me find something to take that away from you."
Yeah, I'm kind of torn because
I am too. I understand that they have to abide by all the rules, but
this
is.
But again, let me explain the rules, and this is the rules. This is from the room, and this is the idea of why the bad beat wasn't hit. We regrets. There's a misspelling. We regret to inform our players of the following news. Yesterday at 1:06 p.m., a bad beat hand was dealt. However, the 2 players involved regrettably nullified their eligibility due to the following infractions. 1, hand was exposed before all action was complete. 100%, you expose your hand in a bad beat situation, that hand's not going to qualify. Like, correct? Regardless of where you're at in the action. Like, if I'm all in, I just flip over my hand, like, they're going to be pissed about it unless all of the action's closed and both players are all in and there's no more action to complete. Like, if you expose your hand, right, with action pending, you can't win the bad beat. 2, player with the losing hand does not say or call verbally in any motion, doesn't do anything, just kind of just sits there, and then people start screaming, bad beat, bad beat, bad beat, bad beat. He never said call. He never did anything. He didn't fold either. I mean, his hand's still live, but people start screaming, bad beat, bad beat, bad beat, bad beat. And then the third thing they're claiming is that player saw he had the losing hand after he was shown the exposed cards and then pushes his chips all in. Only reason he's calling is because it's the bad beat. So when you put it that way, like, I kind of understand their complaints. He exposed his hand. He exposed his hand. The player never calls, never actually does anything before the other players at the table start screaming that's the bad beat. And then he only calls after he was shown, which I guess is basically it just reiterates, you know, rule number 1 here, that the player saw he had the losing hand and then calls, only calling because he wins the bad beat. Right? Like, when you explain it that way, I kind of understand why they don't want to pay it out.
I get it, but when you have quad threes and you're at a place that offers a bad beat, anytime you're calling, and you're only going to call because...
Here's where it gets worse for the poker room, and nobody seems to be remembering this. It is like a 1-2 game at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is probably right when they opened. The pot's got maybe $40 in it, and the player with quad threes had maybe $50 in front of him and bet roughly 40 of his $50 stack. And then the other player goes all in for like 100. So it's $10 to call. In what world is any player in any game, in any room, I don't even care about the bad beat, is anybody in that situation gonna fold quad threes. Now, again, let's say the hand wasn't exposed. Is there ever a situation where you're gonna fold quad threes? Pocket threes in your hand, 2 threes on the board, queen, jack, 10 of diamonds. Is there any situation in the world that you fold for $10 to not find out 100% if that guy's got the royal or the straight flush? Honestly. Never happens, right? It's impossible. There's absolutely 0% chance.
It's not like a pathway of
We're not talking about 20 grand and I just bet 5,000. I got $15,000 behind, and now I'm thinking about, like, maybe conceivably you could be like, well, we don't know. Maybe that guy's the last 15 grand he's got. Maybe he was pretty sure the guy had the straight flush, and he's willing to fold to save his 15 because he doesn't want to call off the rest. I would understand that. And then if the guy showed a straight flush and then he calls, like, I could see where it's a discrepancy here from the poker room side. But it seems like a weird technicality. Did they break the rules? Yes, 100%. Should they have paid out the bad beat? Probably.
I also don't.
It was $10 to call.
Yeah, what happens if so quad threes bets 40 and has 10 behind, and then the other guy raised?
Yeah,
maybe that guy was just like thinking he was all in, putting in the call.
So that's what a lot of the Twitter peeps. Again, we love our poker Twitter players.
This is great because I didn't read any of the comments.
Yeah. So Cedric, who's a guy I've played with in Texas, he's done some of the meetup games at Paramount. He's awesome. He's done really well. He was last year at the main event. He went really deep. He was like a chip leader on one of the day ones, but regardless, yeah, so apparently a bad beat hit in San Antonio for $100K, but was not paid out. Here's the card room said. That's what I was reading. It's from his. He actually shows a video of it, which is amazing. I'll repost all of this stuff on Twitter so you can see it. It's a $100,000 bad beat. So the guy with quad threes is going to fold $10 to not know for sure if his hand's good or not on a $150 pot, but then he's going to win 50 grand. Like, that's just a $10 scratch off for 50K. I hope the guy's got a straight flush and I lose his hand.
Well, that's what my point is. It's like he either wins the hand or he wins the bad beat.
Correct.
Those are the only two options.
I mean, there's another thing. Cedric here, he agrees. Why would you expose the hand? Well, I think he exposed his hand because when player 2 raised him, he assumed it put him all in already. I believe the difference for the player to call was like $10, which you probably wouldn't think of ever folding. The losing hand is never folding the river for $10. You can even see he makes forward motion as a player in the small blind tables his hand almost in unison. In what world is this player ever folding? He's only inches away from crossing line as the other player tables his hand in motion. So I think a couple things happened here. I think that I don't think the straight flush or the quad threes had any idea that the bad beat was like happening right then and there. I don't think they did it maliciously. It's not like I think the straight flush hand showed to be like, I think he was excited about the straight flush. It did not even think about the fact that the player could have gotten the bad beat. So I think that in general, it's like kind of the whole idea of like tournament director stuff, like what's in the best interest of the game here? And the best interest of the game, I don't think so. I think he was just excited about it, and the guy only had $10 left. And he was probably making a motion to put his $10 in, and the guy instantly flips over his cards before did the $10 actually cross the betting line? Or, it's like one of those things, well, I never called. You were making a motion for it, because you've had this rules happen before, right, Brando?
Yes.
Where a player's like, raise, and the guy's, he's going to call. Like, the player's moving his chips forward, the guy flips over the nuts, and the guy goes, well, I never put my chips down, so they're not in there. Like, that's what I think that the poker room's kind of basing this off of. Well, like, technically he didn't call before you showed your hand, which is why you should always wait till the chips are in the pot before you table your hand, especially when there's a chance that the bad beat could hit. I don't know. I think it's an interesting argument. I think you can kind of see it from both sides. I think most players would go, well, yeah, they should have paid it out. Like, it's $10. Nobody's going to fold $10 if they thought that there was a possibility that they could win the bad beat. But on the same token, the poker room,
if it happened simultaneously, you could almost rule that it's like accepted action. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if the guy bet 40 and then the other guy puts out 100 and then flips over his straight flush, and the guy's like, fuck, I had quads, and then flips over quads. Like, that's just like in the poker room, that's just like, oh, well, he had $10 back. No. Look, we assumed that we were all in here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when it's like pot. You know, it's like, oh, the pot left him with $40 behind, but then the dealer runs out to turn in the river, and the guy shows the nuts, and it's like, oh wait, I actually had four. No, like we all assumed all in here. Like, just it's no longer that you expose your hand early.
And again, it's not like this is some kind of elaborate poker conspiracy like Mike Postel and the crotch theory. Like this is not what we're talking about. Like this is a very clear-cut case.
You got to pay the players.
They should probably have paid them out. But then on the flip side, from the poker room side, the kind of the next layer of the onion here is that it's really not fair to the other players in the room. Like if I was another player and a crazy poker player, I could be like, well, I want to sue the poker room because they paid out the bad beat and they should still offer the bad beat. And I had the bad beat 5 minutes later, quad aces versus quad kings. And we didn't get the bad beat when these guys screwed it up and they paid it out anyways, even though he tabled his hand and it was clear violation of the rules. And I had the bad beat 10 minutes later and I would have gotten the 50 grand. So I'm suing the poker room for $50,000. That's the worst case scenario. So it's like, there's so many levels. It's like you can't just be like, well, they should have paid it out because that's the right thing to do. And they didn't intend to screw up. They didn't intend to do it. And, you know, they were we're being a little Willy Wonky. That's hard to say. You know, oh, you don't get your lifetime supply of chocolate because you drank fizzy lifting drink and now you're not eligible for your free chocolate for life. Get out.
How do you come up with these? I just would think that, I don't know.
You never seen Willy Wonka?
I've seen Willy Wonka. I'm stuck on them like weaseling their way out of it.
It seems weaselly, but do you see my point slightly of the idea of?
I do, but you always just think everyone's going to sue people.
Well, that's true. I like to think I'm very conservative when it comes to these things.
I would think that all the other players would also be pissed that they would be on team pay them as team don't pay them because now I don't get my chance 5 minutes later. Like, I don't think that.
No, I would agree with that. I would say it's definitely
like
pretty far down there. They probably should have paid it out because like there's no malicious intent here. There's no like anything like it's a very clear cut bad beat. It's very clear. There's no way they're folding.
There was maybe a slightly like mistake in the order of operations or anything like that.
That was just excitement.
That's just excitement,
right.
And that's just
wasn't cheating. He wasn't trying to get the guy to call. It's not like
rules are built for guys being like, I got 78 diamonds. All right, let's hit the bad beat. All right, well,
let's run it out for $50. Correct. That's flamingo. Right. That's what players are looking at where they go, oh, yeah, let's just run it out and see if we can hit the bad beat. Well, then that nullifies the bad beat. You can't do that. I mean, you can run it out for $50.
As the hands progressing,
right.
Talking about things.
Right. I would have felt like much better if somewhere in here somebody had said, oh, that, if you had quad threes, that would be the bad beat. Like, that would be different, but at least another element to this.
Absolutely, because now it's like, well, now we're breaking the rules of poker because it's not one player per hand anymore. Like,
correct.
We're getting information, new information, like that kind of stuff. That's shady on the players. I feel like the players did zero things shady to then get 100% shady result. Like, it was like zero. Like, there was no ill will towards what the players did. I think that should be part of the formula here. Like, yes, they broke the rules based on the wordage of the rules, but no, right. They didn't break any sort of,
just seems like good
morality
Lord.
Rules.
Yeah, like this is pretty nitty stuff here of like, how could you ever? Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Who was the guy in the video room that was like, ooh, I see they did this. Like, we could probably get out of this, guys.
Yeah, how did this even come up, right? Because do they go back and check? I don't know, maybe
they
that's
go
what
back
happened?
And check the cameras, yes.
Yeah.
But they're doing more so like, there's 52 cards in the deck. The dealer did a proper shuffle.
Right.
There was no dialogue between the players saying the words bad beat and straight flush and, that kind of stuff. That should be what they're reviewing, not like, 40, then a card, then the last 10 came in. Like, guys,
it's $10. In what world is that guy folding $10?
And it's straight flush versus
fucking possible that man folds for $10. Doesn't happen. Never happens. Possible. But, in the same token, they did break the rules. So it's like, What do we have rules for? Rules are rules. What do we have rules for if nobody's going to follow them?
Yeah. It just seems like it just seems like the poker room might lose more than $100,000 because of their result.
Well, 100%. That's what.
Or all press is good press, and now they have podcast they have podcasters in Chicago talking about their room. And
correct.
We never would.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. You got to take the good with the bad. All right. Well, that's our bad beat episode of Bad Beating.
So they did not get paid.
They did not get paid. No. Bad Beat's still on, I guess, or maybe they canceled the Bad Beat because it seems like.
And the guy 5 minutes later that hit it didn't have to sue him because he actually got hit.
Yep.
No, that didn't happen.
I love it. Well, hopefully you're playing at the Paramount Social Club trying to win that point series, or you're trying to qualify for the $27,500 free roll from CCG Poker. Win your way into the main event. Brandon and I will be there this year. We're going to definitely do a podcast from Vegas. We're going to do something cool. I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll have some swag. So if you're going to be in Vegas and you listen to this episode or you listen to any of our episodes, hit us up on Twitter at The Overlay Pod. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Brando, lead us out.
Farewell, all.
See you, everybody.